Imagine building a life and a business with someone you trust completely, only to discover a devastating betrayal that runs deeper than personal infidelity. What if their deception was woven into the very fabric of your shared success? This is the story of a woman who turned her intimate knowledge of a fraudulent empire into the ultimate weapon of corporate retribution. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee usually filled the sleek, minimalist kitchen of their suburban home, a familiar comfort for Sarah. But lately, a different scent permeated the air, a subtle, acrid tang of something hidden, something wrong. Sarah and David had built their lives together on what she believed was a foundation of mutual trust and shared ambition. David's tech startup, Unveiling Solutions, was their joint dream, though he was the public face, the charismatic CEO. Sarah, with her background in finance and meticulous attention to detail, had quietly managed its intricate financial architecture from the shadows, ensuring its stable growth, often sacrificing her own career aspirations for their shared future. She trusted him implicitly, believed in their partnership, both in life and in business. Their anniversaries were marked by quiet dinners, their evenings filled with discussions of quarterly reports and future market strategies. Their life together, while demanding, felt secure, built on unwavering loyalty. Then came the small, almost imperceptible shifts. David became increasingly secretive with his phone, late-night client calls grew more frequent, and a distant, almost detached quality entered his gaze when he spoke of their future. Sarah, ever the analyst, noticed financial discrepancies in the business accounts she managed, small, unauthorized transfers to an obscure, offshore shell company, initially dismissed as minor errors. Yet, the pattern persisted, growing more pronounced, gnawing at her professional instincts and, more painfully, at her personal peace of mind. One evening, a fleeting glance at David's discarded tablet illuminated an unfamiliar messaging app, its notifications flashing. A quick, agonizing scroll revealed a hidden life, passionate exchanges with another woman, intimate plans, and chillingly, detailed discussions about future investments that subtly funneled funds from Unveiling Solutions. The betrayal was not just emotional. It was a cold, calculated theft of their shared financial future, a betrayal of the business she had painstakingly helped build. The woman, a marketing consultant David had recently hired for the firm, frequently referenced their shared future, a future that systematically excluded Sarah. The foundation of her life, once so solid, shattered into a million sharp pieces. Her grief was quickly overshadowed by a burning, icy resolve. David had used the business as a tool for his deceit. She would use her intimate knowledge of that same business as the instrument of her retribution. Sarah knew that any overt accusation would simply be met with denial, obfuscation, and a swift attempt by David to lock her out of the very financial systems she had created for Unveiling Solutions. Her revenge had to be surgical, built on irrefutable evidence, and executed from within. She began a meticulous, silent audit of every single financial transaction, every contract, and every digital footprint left within the company. Her deep familiarity with Unveiling's intricate accounting software and secure servers, knowledge David had often dismissed as just the boring finance stuff, now became her greatest asset. She accessed old email archives, cross-referenced invoice numbers, and analyzed spending patterns with a forensic intensity that surpassed any external auditor. She focused particularly on the shell company David had been using, painstakingly tracing its obscure paper trail through international corporate registries and public financial disclosures, uncovering a complex web of transactions designed to hide illicit funds and assets. What she uncovered was a staggering pattern of financial malfeasance far beyond just the infidelity. David had been systematically siphoning off company profits for years, not just for personal luxuries or to fund his affair, but to secretly build an entirely separate, rival business under the guise of an investment. He had also been inflating invoices, securing sweetheart deals with complicit vendors, and diverting company resources for his own private ventures. Every secret meeting, every late night at the office, every evasive answer about Unveiling's cash flow now had a damning financial counterpart. Sarah meticulously downloaded, copied, and secured every piece of evidence on encrypted external drives, creating an ironclad case. She noted every legal loophole David thought he had exploited, every contractual vulnerability, and every regulatory gray area he had danced within. Her calm exterior masked a mind racing with a cold, strategic fury. She wasn't just seeking personal retribution. She was exposing a corporate parasite, preparing to dismantle him not with anger, but with the undeniable weight of his own financial deceit, using the very structures he had designed to hide his treachery. The blueprints of his betrayal were now the blueprints of his downfall. Armed with an unassailable mountain of meticulously compiled evidence, Sarah began to discreetly, almost imperceptibly, activate a series of legal and corporate contingencies she had, ironically, insisted on embedding into Unvision Solutions' foundational documents years ago for good governance. These were clauses David had casually signed off on, often without reading thoroughly, dismissing them as standard legal boilerplate. One such clause allowed for a rapid, independent forensic audit of the company's financials at the request of a senior officer, triggered by unusual and persistent financial anomalies. Another granted significant voting power to the minority shareholders in cases of proven executive misconduct, a provision Sarah had pushed for to protect against aggressive takeovers, never imagining it would be needed against her own husband. Her first move was to anonymously tip off a trusted, yet fiercely independent, member of Unvision's board of directors, an older, ethically upright tech veteran who had always respected Sarah's financial acumen. She provided him with just enough fragmented, but highly compelling, evidence of the offshore transfers and inflated invoices to trigger his concern, without directly implicating David immediately. Simultaneously, she began to subtly and legally manipulate the company's cash flow. Using her intimate knowledge of Unvision's pending contracts and payment schedules, she delayed certain large, non-essential expenditures and accelerated the payment of crucial, time-sensitive invoices, strategically creating a temporary, but significant, cash flow crunch. This wasn't illegal, but it made Unvision appear financially unstable to external observers, just as the board member was beginning his quiet inquiries. David, caught up in his secret life and burgeoning new venture, was too distracted to notice the subtle financial maneuvering. He simply saw the company's accounts looking tighter than usual, attributing it to market fluctuations or routine business challenges. The board member, now alerted and acting on Sarah's anonymous tip, used his authority to initiate the forensic audit, citing the unexpected financial volatility and the unexplained transfers he'd noticed. This move legally compelled David to open Unvision's books to external scrutiny, a process Sarah knew would unearth every single one of his carefully hidden deceptions. The trap was set, not with anger, but with the cold, calculated logic of financial governance and meticulous preparation. David had walked willingly into a corporate ambush, meticulously designed by the very person he had so deeply betrayed. The independent forensic audit of Unvision Solutions was swift and merciless, much like a surgical strike. The auditors, unearthing layer after layer of financial manipulation that Sarah had meticulously laid bare, presented their findings to the board of directors with a chilling objectivity. The report detailed the systematic siphoning of funds, the fraudulent invoices, the illicit offshore accounts, and the clear conflict of interest with David's secret, competing venture. The evidence was irrefutable, leaving no room for denial or misdirection. David, summoned to an emergency board meeting, was confronted with his own financial architecture of deceit. He initially attempted to bluff, to blame, to deflect, accusing Sarah of sabotage, but each denial was immediately countered by undeniable documents, timestamps, and digital breadcrumbs that she had meticulously preserved. The board, composed of shrewd business leaders, was less concerned with the emotional betrayal and more with the blatant corporate fraud that threatened the company's very existence and their own reputations. Simultaneously, and crucially, Sarah had orchestrated a strategic leak of select, legally impactful, but non-personal details of the audit findings to a prominent financial news outlet known for its investigative journalism. The article, released just as the board meeting reached its climax, exposed the financial misconduct within Unvision Solutions, sending shockwaves through the tech community. It carefully avoided mentioning the personal betrayal, focusing solely on the corporate malfeasance. David's public image, built on charisma and entrepreneurial spirit, shattered in real time. The board, facing immediate public backlash and the threat of severe regulatory penalties, acted decisively. There was no room for sentiment. They voted unanimously to strip David of his CEO title, effectively terminating his employment and initiating legal proceedings to reclaim the embezzled funds. As a significant and now crucial minority shareholder, a status she had quietly secured through prenuptial agreements and early investments, Sarah, with the support of other now empowered minority investors, leveraged the company's bylaws. She proposed and successfully pushed for a new leadership structure, positioning herself as the interim CEO, citing her deep operational knowledge and her proven history of fiscal responsibility. David, publicly disgraced and financially ruined, watched as the company he believed was his slipped entirely from his grasp, handed over to the woman he had so carelessly betrayed. His attempts to salvage his reputation or his secret venture were futile. The financial news of his spectacular corporate downfall overshadowed everything, a public dismantling orchestrated with cold, precise brilliance. The fallout for David was absolute and unyielding. The legal proceedings to recover the embezzled funds from his secret offshore accounts moved swiftly, stripping him of almost all his remaining assets. His carefully planned rival business, still in its nascent stages, collapsed under the weight of the scandal, its reputation irrevocably tainted by its association with his fraudulent activities. Social media, once a platform for his self-promotion, now became an unforgiving echo chamber of public condemnation and ridicule. He vanished from the public eye, his once bright career extinguished, leaving him isolated and financially ruined. The woman he had an affair with, realizing his complete downfall, quickly distanced herself, severing all ties as his financial resources evaporated. Sarah, now the official CEO of Innovision Solutions, faced a daunting task of rebuilding, but she approached it with the same meticulous dedication she applied to financial audits. The company, initially reeling from the scandal, slowly began to stabilize under her transparent and ethical leadership. She implemented new, robust internal controls, fostering a culture of integrity that was the antithesis of David's covert manipulations. Clients, initially wary, gradually returned, drawn by Sarah's reputation for honesty and her proven ability to navigate the crisis. She didn't seek public adoration or a triumphant narrative. Her satisfaction was a quiet, profound sense of justice achieved. She had not only reclaimed what was rightfully hers, but had also salvaged the company that represented so much of her own hard work and dreams. Her revenge was complete, a silent, strategic corporate takeover, executed not with fury, but with the cold, precise logic of finance and an unwavering commitment to truth. She had proven that the most devastating form of retribution is often found not in destruction, but in the meticulous, undeniable revelation of the facts, dismantling an empire of deceit from the inside out and building a new, stronger foundation upon its ruins.